There was the proposal, and I don't have so much a question, but I would kind of like to explain a little bit here. There was the proposal that, you know, the hospital, people around the hospital, they wanted to have a 20-mile-an-hour zone around the hospital in response to collisions that were happening around there. My feeling, and I think I might even be who proposed the amendment that we add that all the way to downtown. The one thing that I just hate when I see this is what's referred to as a yo-yo effect, where it's 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, then 20 miles an hour. And that's what that was going to set up there on 2nd Street, was that it was going to be a 20-mile-an-hour zone for a couple blocks there by the hospital, then a 30-mile-an-hour zone for a couple blocks until you get to the downtown thing, and then it was going to be a 20-mile-an-hour zone again. And that just, you know, and to me, frankly, I thought that was just setting up a speed trap cash register to, you know, poor people are going to be driving along there and not know, is it 20 miles an hour, is it 30 miles an hour, where's the 30 stop and the 20 and all that. That was my sentiment and my thinking in going along with that and proposing that. You know, if it turns out that it doesn't work, I think that we're going to be revisiting that. But if it works, you know, great.
I can understand that logic on the yo-yo effect, but you should have also considered the condition of the road from McKinley on down. It's downhill. You're going to be braking. I did it just today. And why should I have to brake all the way from McKinley down to Park Street? That's where the 30-mile-an-hour changes to 20. Before, I wouldn't have had to be doing that, but today I had to brake all the way, and I just don't understand why in that part, start your yo-yo on the flat part, but not there towards a hill. That would be my feeling on it.
Well, thank you for your thoughts, sir.
Thank you.
And we will see how this works, and Councilman Huber is exactly right. We did say we would revisit this if it just doesn't work very well.
Okay, thank you.
So. Good evening.
Good evening. Keith Rollins, 542 South Durban. I was here really to speak on something on the consent agenda, but before I talk about that, I saw something today that was the council needs to address, I think, is I have a problem with my right leg, so I was not driving, and I took the blue bus out to the mall and back. The blue bus in the morning is the de facto homeless shelter. There's almost no seats available. The people ride the bus to the mall and back, because when I got off in Walmart and came back, the exact same people on the bus. The bus was completely filled with people with their bags and everything else. Most of them were sleeping, and I asked the bus driver on the sign when we were outside, so they were not here, what was taking place. And I said, well, these homeless people usually ride the bus back and forth until the library opens up, and then they go in the library all day long. I'm really here to, I have a couple ideas on that, but I don't want to use up all my 5 minutes. I'm really here to get guidance on there's a consent agenda thing with the Casper, with the Oil City cabs. I'm trying to find out what's the policy going from the airport into town. I always thought there was an understanding that it was like $24 or $25 anywhere within the city limits. And I've had a couple of incidents where either they wanted to meter people and charge a lot more, or there was a bunch of us in a cab. I arrived and got the cab there, and I asked other people if they wanted to join me. There was 4 of us in the cab. First person got left off at a hotel. They were charged either $24 or $25, and they also got tipped. They also tipped. Then 2 blocks away, 2 other women got off, and he says, "Oh, that's 24." I can't remember. It was 24 or 25, and they said, "Each?" No, it's for the stop. So then they got $24, $25 from there, and those 2 women were very upset. They were accountants who were coming here for some cash management system for some company was being set up. So they realized what was taking place, that the huge dollar amount that was going to be paid for 1 cab ride. And then I went to my home, and I always give the guy $30. So he probably made close to $80 for that trip. I'm trying to find out, is it per stop, per individual, Or for what? That there's this agreement of understanding of $24 into the city or $25 into the city? Or does that not exist?
Do we regulate the amount that our cabs pay or charge? I don't think we regulate that. We just basically give them a license to operate. Is that correct? Councilman Freer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we do not regulate the, what the cabs charge. That's a business practice that they do. So whatever they decide to charge is what they charge. We just do the background checks through and issuance of the license itself.
So, but do we have a policy is it per person? Like, let's say if you're in a cab, is it per the route? Like in New York, there's 4 people in a cab, it's still 1 meter rate. Is it here by the meter, or is it by the number of people in the cab, or we have absolutely no control whatsoever? They could charge me, if someone gets into a cab, they could charge $400 for going to town.
I think.
Without even knowing it, because it's not posted anymore.
I think that's correct.
An individual practice, but.
So it's not posted either, though, so no one knows. I'm just saying, it's a very bad reflection, because these women that were in that cab a couple months ago, they were really upset. And they even said to me on the sign when they were taking the luggage out, this is a terrible reflection on Casper. They thought that they were getting ripped off. They thought they were sharing a cab, because I talked to me, wanted to be in my cab and sharing, and they thought that this guy's going to be making $80 for a very short trip into the city. And they didn't think that was a positive reflection. I mean, cities do that. I mean, New York City's notorious for people taking long routes and whatever that. So in other words, these cabs in this city can charge anything they want, basically. It doesn't have to be even disclosed.
Apparently, this may not be fair, Mr. Henley, because I'm sure this is
Because most of
kind
you
of
guys
the
don't
spur
use
of the
it.
moment,
I come in
but
and go all
we
the time.
don't have anything that requires a license holder to provide certain information about their rates at the time that they're hired.
Your Honor, I don't remember seeing anything like that in the ordinances, though I haven't specifically looked, truly.
That's why I waited until this application came up, because I feel this is the time to ask, because maybe there isn't anything. And obviously, there's not. Do we want to sometime? At least to have it disclosed, as opposed to after the fact. Oh, that was your fare right by was, $47 to come in to a hotel, and some businessman, well, he's not going to argue he's going to pay the $47, but it's not going. That doesn't reflect well on the city.
Okay. I guess that's something we could discuss if we thought people should be required to tell them how much it will cost at the front end. I don't know.
Not so much at the front end, but at least you know is it metered, or is it this, or what's taking place? I mean, because we have no idea what it is. Because you guys probably don't get cabbed into the airport, from the airport. Many times they get picked up, but sometimes they have to take a cab in.
Every time we begin a work session now, Mr. Rowland, we review any public comment that we're given, and we discuss whether it's something we want to discuss further. So we will do that next week.
Okay, super, thank you.
And welcome back.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I go back and forth. That's what I'm usually, the cabs.
Anyone else here to speak to council? Okay. Please read the consent agenda titles.
Establishing April 9th, 2019 as a public hearing date for consideration of the following 3 items. Annexation and plat of a portion of a previously abandoned YDOT right-of-way located and in the southwest quarter of Section 18, Township 33 North, Range 79 West, Trona County, Wyoming. A vacation and replat of Lot 1, McNamara Heights Addition, to create the West Casper Commerce Center Addition, and consideration of a request to establish the zoning as C2 General Business. The adoption of the fiscal year 2019 budget amendment number 2, and the transfer of location of retail liquor license number 21 for Modern Electric Company doing business as Wyoming Bootlegger Liquor located at 240 and 240 West 1st Street to 100 North Ash Street. Establishing May 21st, 2019 as a public hearing date for consideration of the annexation compliance of the West Casper Commerce Center Addition.
The chair would entertain a motion to, by minute action, establish the public hearing dates just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Johnson, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote, and please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Council will now discuss the ordinance for the abandoned vehicles. This item will be open for public comment and for discussion by council. Please read the ordinance on third reading by title only.
An ordinance amending Chapter 10 of the Casper Municipal Code pertaining to abandoned vehicles.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve on third reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Mayor Johnson, seconded by Councilman Friel. Council will now listen to public comment. Is anyone here this evening to discuss the abandoned vehicles ordinance? Any discussion from council members on this ordinance? Mr. Henley, I just had a question. Now, with the abandoned, I was trying to get to it ahead of time, but with the abandoned vehicle section that you authored, is it your sense, is there a method that a citizen would use to basically report a vehicle that's non-operable, and how would they go about doing that? Because we know we've had complaints. Would they just call the police department then?
Mayor, Council, they could call up the police department and report that. They could call up code enforcement, and that would be relayed then to the appropriate department to take a look at. And so once they're on notice, if it's been sitting too long, that's a good way to make sure that the people who need to be paying attention are paying attention to it, so they can do the investigation, and that if they have people in the neighborhood, they can stop by at appropriate times. So I think that would be wise if they have a concern, to report it as soon as they have that concern.
And since we're talking about non-operable vehicles, we have heard complaints that people were just moving a vehicle one space back and forth or across the street, and that it continued to be an eyesore in the community because it was just being moved around. And do you think we have any remedy to that with this ordinance?
You know, I guess one person's eyesore is another person's means of transportation, and if you don't have a place to park it, you're probably going to see some of that. If they're operable, if they're licensed, and they are moved on with some regularity, I don't see how we're going to be able to do too much.
Fair enough. Any other discussion on this matter? Please, any amendments? Oh, I'm sorry, Ken.
Just real quick, when this could pass, because I'm assuming everybody's going to pass it, when does it take effect?
Basically, once you pass it, and then it's signed, and it's by the mayor and attested by the clerk, and then at that point, it's sent off to the Casper Star Tribune for publication. We have a rule of thumb. Basically, if the longest period of time that we can accomplish that would be 21 days. So that would be the longest period of time. It may be a shorter period of time depending upon publication, getting the ordinance to the Casper Star. But as a rule of thumb, you probably need to count on it being in effect on the 21st day after you guys pass it, after you all pass it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passed.
You wanted yes, no, and abstain.
Well, he's a versatile guy. Council will now discuss the ordinance for the small wireless facilities. This item will be open for public comment and for discussion by council. Please read the ordinance on third reading by title only.
An ordinance adopting and approving the right-of-way small wireless facility implementation, cost study, and fee structure development report, and the small wireless facilities recommended requirements.
Thank you, council. The chair would entertain a motion to approve on third reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Pacheco, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Council will now listen to public comment. Is anyone here this evening to talk about the ordinance regarding small wireless facilities? Okay. Any discussion amongst council? Any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passed.
Council will now discuss the ordinance for the Cabin Creek Number 4 addition. This item will also be open for public comment and for discussion by council. Please read the ordinance on second reading by title only.
An ordinance approving the Cabin Creek Estates Number 4 subdivision agreement and the final plat of Cabin Creek Estates Number 4 comprising .22 acres more or less.
Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion to approve on second reading the ordinance just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Huber, seconded by Vice Mayor Johnson. Council will now listen to public comment. Is anyone here to speak this evening on the Cabin Creek Number 4 edition? Okay, any discussion? Any amendments? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
With all members voting aye, motion passes.
Please read the consent resolutions by title only.
Item 10A1, a resolution authorizing agreement with Casper Electric Incorporated for the downtown parking structure lighting upgrade project. Item 10A2, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Wayne Coleman Construction, Inc. for the 2019 CPU asphalt repair project. Item 10A3, a resolution authorizing an agreement with 71 Construction for the CRL sanitary sewer improvements project. Item 10A4, a resolution authorizing a contract for professional services with Civil Engineering Professionals, Inc. for design and construction administration services for the Interstate 25 and Casper Marginal Beautification Project. Item 10A5, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Transmission Distribution Service, LLC, doing business as TDS Construction for the Verta James Pedestrian Overpass Project. Item 10A6, a resolution renaming Parkway Plaza Drive to West East Street located in the Liberty Edition and authorizing and directing the resolution to be recorded in the office of the Natrona County Clerk. Item 10A7, a resolution authorizing an agreement with the Natrona County Travel and Tourism Council for group ticket sales to the College National Finals Rodeo to be held at the Casper Event Center. And item 10A8, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 to the agreement with Trito Construction LLC for the Midwest Avenue reconstruction Elm Street to David Street project.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to adopt the consent resolutions just read.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Bates, seconded by Vice Mayor Johnson. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report on any of these consent resolution items?
Mr. Mayor, council people, just a couple quick things for you and the public to be aware of. With regard to the Verta James Overpass project that the clerk read, council will recall that we had a request not only from Verta James Elementary, but also from a young member of our audience one evening, suggesting that there were possibilities that the Verta James Overpass was unsafe and perhaps unfit for pedestrian traffic. Council then directed staff to look into, via the help of a structural engineer, those particular claims. And so upon doing just that, it was determined that in fact there were some safety concerns, albeit not imminent at this point in time, but that indeed for the longevity of the structure and for the continued, I should say, confidence of the public that uses the facility, that perhaps some work should be invested into the facility. Indeed, we went to work from that point forward, looking at the support structures that are in need of some repair, and council elected to look at the 30-year solution versus a 10 or 15-year solution for this structure, and so indeed that is where we're at with regard to this request of you this evening. The second thing is with regard to the Midwest Avenue reconstruction change order. Indeed, we are looking at a slight difference in scope with regard to our electrical contractor and working with Rocky Mountain Power pertaining to more appropriate means of powering up the facilities that are adjacent to the project. Initially, the scope was designed around original approach. That approach has changed given some of the directives that the power company would offer. Accordingly, those have some costs associated with it that weren't originally anticipated. Adding to that as well, the opportunity to erect some luminaires along portions of the project, or I should say, portions of the community adjacent to the project, gives us an opportunity to accomplish some safety issues as well. So with those two things, that constitutes the change order that you see before you this evening.
Thank you. Any abstentions or nay votes on the consent resolutions? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passed.
Please read the consent minute action titles.
Item 11A1, authorizing the appointment of Andrea Covert to the Leisure Services Advisory Board. Item 11A2, rejecting the bid for the Casper Regional Landfill Equipment GPS project. Item 11A3, authorizing the discharge of uncollectible accounts receivable balances aged between October 2nd and December 31st of 2013, including more recent estate liquidations and bankruptcies. Item 11A4, authorizing the purchase of 6 cardiac monitors for use by the Fire EMS Department. Item 11A5, application for taxi cab company license for Oil City Cabs located at 3030 East 5th Street. And item 11A6, authorizing the appointment of Councilmember Bates to the Historic Preservation Commission.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent minute action agenda items just read.
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Councilman Pacheco, seconded by Councilman Hopkins. Any abstentions or nay votes? Please cast your vote. And please record the vote.
All members voting aye, motion passed.
At this time, we ask council members to bring forward relevant concerns or items of interest. Let's start on the right side. Councilman Pacheco.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilman Huber.
We'll have about 45 minutes.
Move to adjourn.
Councilman Friel.
Just two real quick things. In reference back to the taxi cab license, I pulled that up, and it looks like there's a ordinance for posting of license and rates. We don't regulate the rates, but there is actually a placard that they have to have posting the rates within the taxi cab itself. And there's also a section in there about meter requirements that tells exactly what they're being charged for what distance. So, but we don't regulate what that price is that they set on it. That's set by the business. The other thing is I had a citizen approach me in reference to 12th Street between, I guess, Wyoming Boulevard and then all the way up, I guess it'd be probably Waterford, well, beyond Waterford. Due east, asking about the school zone. Initially, what he said to me was it was a 6-hour school zone. He thought that was a little drastic for Centennial there, being it's not even in front of the school. I did drive up there and look at it. It's 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon, and I think it runs 6 a.m. to 9 and then 2 to 5. So I guess I was just kind of looking to see if what there is possibly at 6 a.m. in the morning as to why we need that, why it's set. I'm sure there's a reason. I just want to be able to give him the reason why we have those hours set.
Okay. Can look into that, Mr. City Manager.
I can somewhat answer that for the simple fact that sometimes some of the like chess clubs, cheerleading, if they have it, band, whatever, will meet in the mornings because in the evenings, the volleyball, basketball, wrestling, whatever is occupying parts that they may need. So some move it for that morning academics because they can't use it in the afternoon academics. So I know that's part of the reason as far as that goes.
Okay. You can still ask the question if that's all that's necessary, so. Anything else?
Nope.
Vice Mayor?
I don't have anything.
Councilman Hopkins?
He doesn't.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A while back, council had asked, what's really going on down in the OYD in terms of businesses moving in. Well, the newest one is Ashby Construction. They're moved into their building. They've still got some landscaping work to do. And they've also, they haven't started construction on the addition, or not the additional properties behind, I guess, directly to the west of their building. As you might recall, their Ashby Construction took over the building that at one time was Milo's Body Shop. They've got it remodeled, looks very nice inside. And we'd already talked about the lights on Ash Street. If you drive down there, they were setting them today, so
Things are happening.
Yeah, looks good. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Councilman Lutz.
The only thing I'd mention is we did the tour of the Plains building, and some of you might have been able to do that since you were on the council when the first RFP came out. But we did the tour of the Plains building, and some of the original, what am I trying to say, like structural items that still remain as far as like the old metal trusses that are up in the, to support the ceiling structure, and then some of like the original tile has been uncovered. And so on the off chance that the building doesn't exist for much longer, I'd say whoever can get in there and take a tour, most certainly take a tour.
Okay. Thank you. Councilman Bates.
Yeah, just a few. As Ms. Councilman Letts pointed out, yeah, the Plains Furniture, being able to tour that was super awesome. And as I mentioned to a few people, one of the things that blew me away is, A, the windows still intact, sad that they got bricked over. But I don't know why it fascinated me, but the telephone wire down in the basement and how professionally done it was would put some of these places to shame. It was amazing to see how perfection it was. It was perfect. You couldn't have asked for anything better than it. And I don't know why that fascinated me, but it did. But anyways, it was really cool to get to go Friday. Wednesday, we had our winter storm, and I actually was able to get on with the snowplow crew, City Casper snowplow, and get a go. I did end up riding with somebody and our snowplow broke, so I don't know if that was because of me and I broke however much they cost, so I apologize for that to the city. But it was cool getting to meet Mr. Rebel, that's been there 20 years, Mr. Robbie, that's been there for 15 years. I think there was a gentleman named Mike that was with Mr. Rebel, and if I get his name wrong, I apologize. He's been there for 14 years. I got a ride with John, one of the supervisors. I didn't ask how long he's been there. So it was really great to hear how long some of our city employees have stuck around. There are other jobs that they do in the summer and the passion that they have for it. Did not know that 20-some years ago, snow plows, not only did you have to operate the plow, but it was also some of the trucks were stick shift. So I could not imagine doing the stick shift and the plow, watching the everything. I couldn't imagine doing that. So that was really cool. Today I went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting. They gave a physical year statistics. And just real quick, 2017 total visitors, they had down total 3,818. 2018, it was 1,404. So that was quite a bit of a difference in seeing total visitors according to what they had on their stats. So I was kind of surprised about that. The only other thing is next week is spring break for school. So kids are going to be out having fun while parents are working, except for me, to a point. I did take off. I will be going with the City of Casper trash collectors, so I'm looking forward to spending a day with them next Monday. At the landfill for Tuesday for half of the day, and the wastewater for Wednesday. That's what I'm doing for part of my spring break, so I'm actually looking forward to it. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. And just to add to what Councilman Bates said, I think there was a strong consensus throughout the community that our crews just handled this storm magnificently. And I think when I've interacted with the staff that do this kind of work, it's clear to me that obviously, like any organization, they're probably a small group that treat it as a job. The vast majority treat it as calling, and they're committed to what they're doing, and they just believe that what they're doing is important, and they want to keep us safe and keep the city running. And I salute them all. for their work. So the next meetings of the City Council will be a work session to be held at 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 26, 2019 in the Council's meeting room, and a regular Council meeting to be held at 6 p.m. Tuesday, April 2nd, 2019 in the Council chambers. A notice of an executive session to take place at this date and during this meeting was given. We have a matter to discuss regarding property acquisition and property disposition. Therefore, the Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session, and at the conclusion of that executive session to reconvene this regular meeting solely for the purposes of adjourning of this regular meeting. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Pacheco.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Friel. There being majority of members present and a motion to adjourn into an executive session having been moved and seconded, and that motion requiring a 2/3 majority of the council present, please cast your vote. Okay, thank you. We will be back to adjourn.